All morning long, we've been coming to you from the KPMG Women's Leadership Summit, which takes place in Minneapolis. This summit is focused on how executive women lead in the workplace. And joining us right now to talk about this and much more is Lynne Doughtie. She's the U.S. Chairman and CEO of KPMG. And Lynne, it's great to see you.
It's great to see you, Becky, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting us. It's a fantastic place to be. You've got the Women's PGA tournament coming up, and you've also got the Women's Summit that's here. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But you are somebody who is talking to CEOs around the globe and around the United States on a constant basis. Yes. You're a road warrior, and you're constantly hearing from people. We've been trying to figure out what's happening in the economy right now. You do your own surveys and talk to over 400 CEOs to ask them what they see. What are they telling you right now in terms of how optimistic they are?
Well, the CEOs in the U.S. are the most optimistic. And in fact, they're more optimistic than they were a year ago.
Wow.
And although they're concerned about geopolitical risk, they're also very concerned about cyber risk. You know, they're telling us that they're plowing forward. They're focused on innovation, M&A as well, and also the war for talent, especially in areas where they're trying to take advantage of new technologies, in some cases, to really transform their business models.
We've seen in some of the numbers that we track that capital expenditures haven't been keeping par with expectations. What do you hear from the CEOs? Are they waiting to put more money back in?
Yeah, we see those statistics, but yet when we're talking to them and what they told us in the survey is, they're leaning into cap expenses. And our outlook is looking over the next 3 years, so not the short term, but, they're, I think, looking at their growth prospects and seeing that there is definitely an opportunity to invest for the future, and particularly in areas where it relates to new technologies.
I thought one of the most interesting questions you asked them was if you could spend on either new technology or spend to invest in your workforce. Most of them chose spending on new technology.
They did, but I think, but there's also questions in there about their talent, and recognizing that technology alone is not going to be able to move them forward, and having the right talent, the right diverse talent, is important as well.
What do you hear in terms of the M&A outlook, in terms of mergers and CEOs just, I guess, being opportunistic at this point?
Well, when we asked them about their growth prospects, we said, so where's that going to come from? And M&A was at the top of the list for CEOs. And so, and we're seeing that in our own business, where our clients are doing deals, and that hasn't slowed down for us.
Yesterday we saw the market pick up pretty rapidly when it looked, when President Trump said he would be meeting with President Xi, and President Xi confirmed that later this month. The China trade talks obviously loom pretty large on the minds of a lot of CEOs. What do you hear when you talk to them about that?
Well, I think a lot of CEOs are saying, they're not focused on the fluctuations in the market, and, they're really sticking to what's their strategy, how they're going to invest for the future, how they're going to grow their business, and they're trying to, stay out of, what is the day-to-day coverage of, what's going on in the geopolitical market.
What do they say just in terms of their investment strategy, though, and how that could be affected by the trade talks? Is anybody kind of on hold? Are they changing their plans to say we want a new supply chain or something along those lines? We've got to get away from China in some of those issues?
I think, Becky, they're sticking with their strategy. They're cautiously, watching, where trade is going. But the CEOs that I've talked to, they said they're sticking with their strategy, and they're moving forward.
Lynne, the SEC just had a settlement with KPMG, a $50 million fine coming from the SEC for ethics problems at KPMG. I realize this goes back a few years, but this is the final settlement with this. What have you done to address this within the firm?
Well, Becky, our business is based on trust. And we did have a failure, and the opportunity for us we acted swiftly, we took decisive action, and this settlement with the SEC really allows us to have closure, but also we've learned some really valuable lessons. We've focused on culture, we have focused on compliance as well as governance, and this allows us to move forward a stronger KPMG.
Let's talk a little bit about the Women's Leadership Summit, which is why we're here today. You're bringing together hundreds of women who are maybe a step or two away from the C-suite. They've actually been nominated by their CEOs to come here. And when you get together, what are you talking about? What do you hear from them?
Well, at KPMG, we care so deeply about developing and advancing women. And this summit is all about getting more women into the C-suite. And so today, this is our 5th annual summit, and This is an opportunity for these women to hear and be inspired by amazing speakers like Condoleezza Rice, Brian Cornell, the CEO of Target, as well as we have Mia Hamm here as well. But it's really much more than just a day. It allows them to have a year-long program of working with their peers, talking about the challenges that they're facing, and really inspiring them to move forward and go for those next roles.
What do you think has held women back from the CEO role to this point?
Well, we just did this survey with our past participants from our past 5 summits. And we focused on leadership styles in that survey. And what they shared with us is that, they feel like they really have to focus on changing their style in some ways as they progress within their organizations. And we're going to be talking about that today in the summit.
Changing their style because people don't react to them well, or because they feel they need to act more like men? What do you mean changing their styles?
Well, so here's what they told us. They said, in some cases they get told, and these are opposite ends of the spectrum, you need to be more aggressive, or you know what? You're not aggressive enough. and so I think that's one of the topics that we're going to talk about today, where we're looking at the various leadership styles that are necessary to move forward in their careers. And so there's a lot of learnings that we'll be sharing today around those topics.
Well, Lynne, I want to thank you very much for your time and for hosting us here today. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Becky, and thanks for being here.